Welcome to Andrea's, everybody. We're joined today with Ramon Rivas
Hello.
the second.
The second in a series of two.
Hell yeah, doing well. So the way I usually start out this podcast is I let the guests know something that I love about them.
Okay.
So I want to say I really appreciate and love how considerate you are. Ramon had to reschedule because you got accepted to South by Southwest,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I don't know if accepted, but like some Latino sponsor was like, yo, you want to do this show? And I was like, yeah, can I have a pass for the whole festival? And then it worked out to where I did that. So I'm just going to be real irresponsible and just stay the whole time.
That's super awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's, I've had guests cancel on me last minute, even though they knew they had a trip or something. Yeah. So like, I really appreciate that.
Oh,
that's
no
super cool of you. That's like really good manners and like, you had a good Midwestern upbringing, clearly.
I don't know about that, but I definitely because I'm usually really high. I try to at least stay somewhat organized with what I'm supposed to do comedy wise. So I had everything I had on my calendar. I was like, oh, I got to move these things, and so podcasts are on my calendar. So it's one of those things that's just like a professional courtesy, but also just like a human courtesy.
Yeah, I really appreciate
sometimes I have a hard time taking lessons from how I do things in comedy to like other parts of my life.
To people?
To just people. Yeah. Like like it's weird. I learned confidence and care on stage before I had either of them off stage, really.
So this is like the stage is like a training ground for you for how to be with people.
I don't know about that, but it's definitely funny's always been something I leaned on as like a communication tool. Like even when I was a kid, like I wasn't athletic. I wasn't any of the things you had to have to be cool. So, but I could bust people's balls. I could like shoot the dozens. Like I was just funny. So that's what made people enjoy being around me. So I was like, oh, okay. And then like, I just am normally just like very quiet dude. I just kind of keep to myself. So unless you're talking to me or being mean to me and then I'm blasting you back, I'm usually just kind of quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a watcher.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
Cool. I get that. I feel that. Yeah. I was an artist growing up, so I just want to sit in the corner and be left alone.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I guess I used to be really into drawing and doing art, and my mom said that we went into like a parent teacher conference at the school, and the art teacher told me I was like bad. Like she was like, he's not very good, and then like I stopped drawing after that, but I didn't remember that until she told me that, and I'm like, oh yeah, I very distinctly remember that now.
I had an art teacher tell me that in like 2nd or 3rd grade. And I started drawing for revenge. Like I was just like, spite. I'm gonna get so good at this, and now it's my day job. So
that's dope. yeah, that's overcoming.
Yeah.
But she was right. I wasn't good at drawing, but like we were talking in the car on the way here, and you said drawing someone is like a way of communicating. Like art is a way of communicating and caring it, and it's another language.
Yeah.
And so like I'm not artistic in a drawing way, but I am artistic in this spoken thinking, analyzing people type of way.
Your vision boards are dope though.
Yeah, that's something I started doing last year. I wasn't really like a vision board type of person. I was more just kind of like blinders on, put your head down, do the work. And then a buddy of mine, he invited me over for a vision board party. It was just a bunch of grown men. And we all did it, and it was just in his apartment, and it was really cool. It was, I had like little fortune cookies that I'd randomly saved over the year, so I'd put those down, and then I put things I wanted or like operating procedures, because I don't like to put like specific things that you can get let down from.
Oh no, yeah, because you can only put things on your vision board that you can control.
Yes, or that you would like to actively manifest. So like,
yes.
And so by the time I got done doing that, all the good magazine clippings had been taken. So I didn't. My vision board last year wasn't as like pop arty as everyone else's. But then it did it again this year.
This is the sweetest, most LA.
Yeah, it was a very LA experience. But it's interesting because like the buddy who had a party at his apartment, his vision board had a lot of stuff about how he wanted a home or how he wanted to have like his own space. And then this year when we did the vision board at the beginning of the year, it was in his new house.
Aww.
So it's like, oh, okay, that's cool. And like I didn't like knock off everything on my vision board, but I got some stuff, and then some things I'm like, oh, I wasn't specific enough in this thing. But it's interesting.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah, it's a work in progress for sure.
I do that. I do goals every New Year's, and then I look at my old goals and I like see what I can cross off.
Yeah.
But they're always things like, so it's like, okay, if I want to get into like 3 comedy festivals, I'll be like, okay, I'll apply to 10. And that way, so like I make the goals things that I can do. So I still feel good about it, even if I don't
that's
get
for
the
sure.
thing that I can't control.
Like I did, when was it? I think it was 2014. I wasn't on the vision board tip, but what I did is I was like, I want to average a set a day for the whole year.
That's a good goal.
Pretty managed. It's
very doable.
I was living in Cleveland, so it's not as easy.
Right.
But I was able, between like trips to Chicago, New York, and out here, and running a lot of my own shows in Cleveland, I did 430 something.
That's awesome.
For the year. Yeah. So it wasn't, but that's an attainable, like I'm responsible for that. Like if I'm like, I want to do just for laughs, like I can't control any of that aspects, but I put on my vision board last year, I put use my passport to do comedy.
Oh, that's
and
so
then,
cool.
And then so like I didn't get in just for laughs. I didn't do New Faces, but I got to open for my buddy Ron Funches up there, and then just snuck up there. I put myself up in an Airbnb and just like hung out at the festival, and then just like I got written up by Pace as like one of the best acts they saw, and I'm like, oh, I wasn't even supposed to be there. That's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, sometimes you just make dumb decisions and you're like, oh, that worked out.
But that's just like a thing that you want to do, that you choose to do. So let's talk about the reason I brought you in here today is we're going to talk about being a fuckboy or fuckboy culture.
Yeah. And it's funny because like as I've been talking to people about this, they're like, yeah, you're not, what you're describing isn't a fuckboy. Some people it is, some people it's not. It depends on your perspective.
For sure.
Yeah, but yeah.
So we were kind of talking a little bit, and I saw you've been working on a new hour, right? And the hour has to do with, do you want to kind of give a brief premise of what happened?
I actually I pitched a show to the Fringe Festival in Edinburgh, and I got
accepted.
I got accepted, so I'm going and doing that. But the show's called Unbecoming, and pretty much it's a introspective journey after a girl I was sleeping with had me saved in her phone as Ramon Fuckboi, and it's kind of the unraveling of my ego around that, because you're like, I didn't think like she had me saved in her phone like that, and I had her saved in my phone as like heart eye emojis and a peach emoji, which like I get that might be the same thing, because it's like, neither of us.
Was her name there too?
But I knew her name. You know what I'm saying? But her name was also in there. But those were the emojis that were attached to the name. So it's but it's like it was still a sexualized way of saving her in my phone.
For sure.
Does that make sense? The same way I was the same way in her phone. Like it's almost like she was saving me like that to remind her that like, don't care for this person. Like he's just fun, or he's just a fuckboy. Like don't think it's more than that. Which is like, I didn't want to be that, but I don't know.
Did you want to be her boyfriend?
It was one of those. So my journey into sex is interesting because I was a virgin until I was 26. Right. So just kind of late to the game, and like the weird social pressure that comes with that
virginity, especially for men. I feel like it's
there's
extra
like
bad.
A weird. And then my dad was a very much like, he ran around with my mom a whole bunch. So like, in his standard of manhood, I wasn't
a man.
But then it wasn't a lot of it. And when I was younger, it was just pining for women who loved me but weren't attracted to me.
Right.
Which is something that can fuck up your radar for when someone is attracted to you and has those same vibes.
Because they're giving you feelings of care
but there's nothing like, and it's always. As a kid, I realized that like sex, love, and care and emotions are like different things, because my parents loved and cared for each other, but sex is what drove them apart.
Was it because like they disagreed on sex, or was it just because your dad wanted sex with many people?
I don't really. I remember at a certain point like I was driving with my dad to Michigan, and he was like, he was in like a weird mental phase, but he was talking about how, because him and my mom were splitting up, he was like, yeah, sometimes he's like, there's only so long you can lay next to a woman who won't let you touch her. If she's accusing you of something you're not doing, you're just gonna go do it. That's the man's way of justifying, like, I was just being a piece of shit. But it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah.
Because they'll tell me stories of like when I was younger and I would go around with my dad. My dad was kind of like me, very like people liked him.
Yeah.
So, but
He's
hey
lovable.
Ray, what's going on? Yeah. And so we'd go home. I'm like, hey, how was your day? I'm like, oh, cool. We ran into Bob and Stacy, and my mom would be like, oh, who's Stacy? And then they would like kind of like argue and then like whatever. So I don't know if it was like a jealousy bred the behavior or the behavior bred jealousy. Like
right.
I don't. It depends. Like I'm like you can probably both be right. Like I know the struggle of like trying to be a good dude. But anyways, so I was a virgin for so long, and then the first girl I had sex with, we dated, right?
Okay.
And we dated for a while, but we lived like an hour apart.
Like how long did you date for?
3 months.
Okay, that's a little.
Yeah,
a cute little starter relationship.
Cute little start, and like I never really even dated before that. Like at all. Like I'd ask people on dates, I'd be like, no. So it was just like nothing. Like no experience as far as like even like, oh, we're going on dinner and going and doing this. And I broke up with her because I wasn't giving her consideration before I was making decisions. So just like we'd have plans and then something would come up with comedy about, oh, I gotta do it. She was like, oh, no big deal. But I was feeling bad.
Because you weren't making her a priority in your life.
Yes, which I feel like as a boyfriend, girlfriend, you should.
You should.
That is built into the definition of it for me.
Life.
So I wasn't, and which I feel like that's in the definition of what a boyfriend, girlfriend should be, that should be included.
Yes.
I know and understand that. I felt how I was insufficient in that. So I was like, hey, I don't want to, 6 months from now, I'm still kind of half in, half out, and then you're more into this, so we should probably break up. And then she was like, okay, cool. And then we had sex, and then she was like, this isn't normally how it happens. I was like, okay. And then she was still down. She was like, well, we can still hang out like and hook up. But I was like, well, if it was like very taxing for me to borrow a car and go out there to date you, it's shitty of me to like, oh, now that I don't have to date you, I'll still come have sex with you. That felt shitty to me too.
Yeah.
So I was like,
shitty.
Yeah. So I was like, no, I'm, and just let it fizzle to nothing, which is mean, but also like kind of nice. Like it's a weird set of morals.
It's kind of honest, at least, which is nice.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like Omar in The Wire, like where I have like a weird code, but it doesn't make sense. And I don't know.
A lot of men have that.
Yeah.
I have other guy friends that like I interview Danny Williams on the podcast, and he has kind of like this nobility thing. Yeah. Of like, I'm going to hurt your feelings because I know I'll hurt him now or I'll hurt him worse later. And to him, that's his code of ethics. Yeah. It's
a weird, I always pragmatize myself out of things. But anyways, at the time, so I was a virgin for so long, partially because I didn't want to just have sex with people I didn't care about, because my dad is one of 17. My sister, who had 3 kids before she turned 21, before I graduated high school. So like, I was like, yo, I might be super fertile, so I probably shouldn't be running around. But I also saw how my dad and the dude that fathered my sister's kids disabused their feelings, like disabused their love to do what they wanted within the confines of a relationship.
What do you mean disabused? Like they manipulated?
They manipulated the love. So like, so the father of my sister's kids has 3 other kids that are the same age as my sister's kids by a girl who's younger than me, and I'm 3 years younger than my sister. So
that's a lot of math, but it's not bad.
It's
not great.
It's not great. But the thing that happens because of that is she fell in love with a shitty dude. Right? Like, so
we all have.
You all have. Yeah. But he wasn't self-aware of the shittiness, or he just he took advantage of the fact that she cared about him. Yes. Yeah. Where that happens to us a lot. And this next so from the first girlfriend going back into being single, at the boom of the hookup era and the dating apps. And
you do the Tinders?
I was doing the Tinder. So I didn't want to still mindset. I don't want to have sex with women I don't care about. But in my head, I was like, I can get my dick sucked because, you can't catch feelings from a blowjob, and you can't have a baby. And I was wrong about one of those. My
first sexual experience, I thought I was wrong about both of those.
Right.
Maybe I can get pregnant from giving a blowjob. I don't know.
Oh my God, what's happening? So then when I would be on Tinder, it was just like a lot of just like either boring whack dates or like I used to have jokes about girls would invite me over like 1 a.m, but then just like want to hang out and get to know each other. I'm like, what?
At 1 a.m?
I'm like, what is happening? Like I felt like something was wrong with me because from what everyone else says in culture and society, like, yo, that means a certain thing.
Yeah.
So like I'd either run into that or I would like have like an empty hookup with someone who I'm like, I don't really feel like a deeper care. So like we can hook up, but if they're looking for more, I'm like, I can't really do that. And then it would just kind of whatever.
Is that sex enjoyable?
No, I had someone describe it to me beautifully as I was just over her crib smoking, and she was like, we were talking about dating. She was like, yeah, I don't. She was like, I don't do fast food sex anymore. Yeah. And I was like, what? And she was like, well, like if you eat fast food, it's not good for you. She was like, but you ate because it was like quick. It was easy, and it was what you could afford. And but it's not nutritious. It's not enriching, and you're hungry again real quick.
Yeah.
She's like that, but with sex. And I was like, oh yeah, that sounds terrible. But I think that's the only kind of sex I've had because I've been in my show. I kind of tie my financial poverty to my emotional poverty.
Right.
Because they kind of do go hand in hand because like a lot of times I'm like, okay, to properly date you, if not hooking up with you, I'm going to date you. I take you to dinner. I got to go to movies. We got to have activities. You got to have a certain amount of money to do that.
Right. It's an investment.
I don't go do a lot of those things myself because I don't have money. So I don't treat myself to dinner. I don't treat myself to movies. Like I want to go see Black Panther, but I know I'm going to want to see it a whole bunch and I don't have a whole bunch of money.
Yeah.
So it's like, just got to make like, I live like a really like, for a long time when I was in Cleveland, I just lived with my family, like either my sisters or my dad's. So I'm like I'm unemployed. I have a career, but I don't have a job. So I'm like unemployed. I live with my dad and I don't have a car. That's not really something you as a woman sees as like dateable.
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. Hard. But so I'm aware of that. So I'm like, yo, not that, but like what's good, we can hang out and have like fun.
Yeah.
But even in doing that, the woman neither side really communicates. Like I don't communicate like, I think that would be it for me is like, just that this would be cool. And the girl's like, well, we can do this, but then there'll be like care coming, right? And I'm like, oh, nah.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah, but like, so the girl who had me saved in her phone as Fuckboi was a girl who like, we were just kind of hanging out, got to know each other. Then we started hooking up. And then we weren't dating, like neither of us had been like, oh, do you want to date? Yeah. But like she was getting to the point where I was like caring, considering for her before I would make decisions, or I would feel bad if I was like, oh, I just want to go. But I didn't want to seem like needy, right? To like, I got so used to being like a roster dude.
You didn't want to feel like you're taking up her time.
Yes, or to where like if I'm going over and we're hanging out and having sex like every day, well then I guess I'm like you're my girl at that point.
Yeah.
So it's like that I was always just very aware of like I didn't want to like misconstrue or like sell hope, but I was also like, oh well, this if it gets to that point at a certain point, but like I always get pushed away before that happens. Like so I wound up feeling.
So you were starting to kind of have feelings for this person.
Yeah, and then I saw how I was saved. I was like, oh, I guess not. So that's why I call her my half girlfriend. And then I've never had another girlfriend.
Did you have like a real conversation with her about that and say like?
No, we could. We like half talked about it, or like I was like, hey, I saw how she was like, oh yeah, and we just kind of laughed it off, and I was like, oh.
But did you have a conversation like you're having with me?
No, because like what happened. So what happened was like we were hanging out, hooking up. And it was going cool. And then I went to New York for like 6 weeks.
Okay.
And then, so I'm not very like, I hate small talk, but like I'm like, hey, how are you? Like chatting. I'm talking to her more. I'm talking to other people. but it wasn't enough to satiate her. I remember one time we like FaceTimed and like we didn't really say anything. We were just kind of looking at each other, and it was like cool, but it's just like, oh, there's not.
You're like a cat. You like want to be near people, but you don't have to talk to them the whole time.
Yes, and I realized that's how my family is. Like when I go home, I love being around my family, but like we'll just sit there and not talk to each other. So
I'm really down with like you bring an activity, I bring an activity, and we just like do
crush it. Yeah. And like that's how I feel like I'm always like kind of doing multiple things.
Yeah.
And so, damn, what was I just?
I'm sorry. You never had this. You went to New York.
Oh, so I was in New York, and then like shortly after the conversation, she was like, "I can't do whatever this is anymore," and I was like, "Oh, okay." Like, and I couldn't argue with her because I'm like, I don't know if you've had a bad day, and like I should be there if you've had a bad day, or if like just me being gone is like tough, or like if me having because we were having sex. I wasn't having sex with other girls, but I had other girls who were giving me head.
Okay.
To the side because I didn't want to seem needy, so I'd just like kind of like space them out.
Right. So you were kind of being a fuckboy.
I was, but like I feel like it is. Yes, no, exactly. So, but I feel like it is irrational for me to clear the roster if we're not even dating.
But that's also a choice that you're making without having a conversation with her.
Yes. And
that's a choice that you're making as a dude because you're like, this is going to save your feelings. I'm doing what's best for you.
I'm doing what's best for my feelings.
But it's a little bit arrogant.
And it's inconsiderate of, so.
Not just inconsiderate, but there's an arrogance to saying like, I know what's best for you too. Without talking to you about it and having a conversation.
Yeah, I can feel that. I guess I never considered that. I guess it's the same thing you said your friend said. It's like the upfront hurt instead of being like, oh, let me just go into this with this. I don't know.
But there's something fair about being fully honest with your partner or with someone that you're sleeping with and saying like, this is who I am. This is where I'm at. This is how I feel about you.
Yeah.
How do you feel about me?
Yeah.
And I think that there's something that happens with men especially where they just decide things in their brains. And women do it too. We all kind of do it to each other, right?
Yeah.
So we decide stuff in our brains and we're like, that's what's real. Yeah. Instead of just like, you don't know till you talk to this person what is in your head. Like I think about this too much, but I think that like each person has their own world in their head and their own narrative, and they're the star of that narrative.
Yeah.
And everything else you think about other people is based on truth, but it's just really a projection of what you think. So you don't really know how she feels about you until or unless you have a conversation.
Yeah.
And you just decided. And
yes,
that's
and that is very shitty, but I feel like the same way I didn't communicate, she didn't communicate. Like there's a weird like
there's a thing with girls where like we want to be the cool girl.
Yes.
And we don't want to seem needy.
Yes. And if there's the dudes have the same, like I said, I didn't want to seem needy in my approach either. So you just kind of both are like.
For us, it's emotions, and for you, it's sex.
Yes. And because sex and emotions are separate from me, I'm scared. You should be scared of both of them, but like emotions are like really scary. Not scary, but like intimidating in the sense that I know those are once those are there, you will make irrational decisions because of them, in the sense of
your own real health and safety.
No, not
like
even
emotionally.
Not even that, but like just like, oh, I love you, so now we're gonna, I don't know, just like the dynamics of my parents, the dynamics of the father of my sister's kids. It's just like they're there, and then like now one of like it's just gonna be it could be something that my parents get along better now that they're divorced than when they were together. But they love and the responsibility of the kids made them stay in a thing that like probably like
wasn't good.
Yeah, y'all could have probably just been like, oh well, this was fun, bye.
Yeah.
Oh, you're if my mom had identified my dad as a fuckboy in her, and saved him like that in her memory, I probably wouldn't be here.
Yeah. So
that's the sort of thing that can, when you just kind of like, I don't know.
Same with my mom. So what happened to you and like your with your parents, like kind of happened with me too. Cause like my dad growing up My mom tells a story of like how she met my dad and how they started dating and stuff. And like when my mom met my dad was living with his ex-girlfriend still and said that she was just his roommate.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like that kind of shit that kind of like happened over and over.
Yeah.
And there's like all these red flags. And my mom was just like, but I really loved it. And then I was just like, this sounds terrible. So I was just like, I'll never be with someone. Like, I don't want to do it. And then like, I didn't have my first boyfriend until I was 18. And he was like, we were like best friends. And so like, that's kind of my pattern is almost the opposite of like, I'm not going to let you anywhere fucking near me until I fully trust you and I feel like I know you.
Yes. And that is the other side. So that is the side of things where in my virginity phase, I would run into all the friends.
Yeah.
All that, but would never get processed into the next level. Like you just get stuck in that whole, and then you call it the friend zone or whatever. And it's not like Lisa Best did a show the other night. And she said that she was sad because I don't want to tell her stuff, but she said that when the friend zone is a place where women put men when they voice free will, is what she said. Because apparently a friend of her, a dude who like edit the name out.
Okay.
But of a friend, someone who I don't want to tell the story. So edit this
That's okay.
whole part out.
We can take it.
I'm trying to think of how to get to the point. But so there is a part, like I was talking to one of my really good friends recently, and her process is similar to yours. Oh, I have to judge you whether you're cool enough for me to be your friend or not. And then, okay, cool, we can be friends. And then
there's
I'm
like a waiting period.
Yes.
Like containment.
But so like there's that. Then I got to be your friend to get to know if I want to date you. And then I have to date you to know if you're deserving of having sex. Boom. Right? So dating, where a lot of people, sex comes way sooner in their process. So everyone's very different. Everyone's intimacy process is way different.
For sure. I want like a submissions, like a comedy festival.
Yeah.
Do you check these boxes?
And I feel like it's interesting you say the boxes, because I feel like we all have those boxes and qualifications, especially for our time. When I'm talking about like the time pie chart, where it's like mostly like comedy, career, and then you have like friends, family, alone time, self-care, new things, new people. Yeah. And then like a romance can carve its own thing in there at any level. We'll just wedge it in there. And then it builds and can take up however much of the pie as possible.
For sure.
And everyone has check boxes and standards for that pie. Where a lot of dudes are very guilty is sex can operate as like a fast pass into the time circle. But there still maintains the requirements to stay in the circle. Yeah. So that's
Al loves it.
Which is shitty. But it's what society has led men to, the way we objectify women and just value pussy. Like, yo, I have talked to some women who were just very like talking about like their dog's astrological sign and just like terrible like red flag, but you're like, so what else about your dog's star pattern?
That's the part where the disconnect is like for me, like if I hang out with a dude and he's like, yeah, this really great sandwich, I'm like, I'm so unattracted to you.
And I fuck with sandwiches heavy, so it's like I never know, so like that's where it's at. But so you get what was I talking about?
Pie chart time, fast track.
Time. Fast track into it. And so that's what leads to sex without care, the fast food sex.
Yeah, it's trash.
It's trash. And I've never... all of the care that I've felt for... it's not like I didn't care about the women I've hooked up with, but I didn't care about them beyond that moment in a lot of times.
You cared about them as people.
As people, like I don't wish you any harm. I wish you well.
Right.
But like, I felt kind of like I used you, so I'd be down to use you again, but like probably not. And then like when they wanted to do more things, it's like, I unfortunately would just use comedy as an excuse to treat people shittily.
Yeah, time.
Time. I'm like, I gotta go do this thing, and like. They'd be like, oh, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm going to the show. And they're like, oh, cool. And then like, I didn't invite them because I'm going to work.
Yes.
So that's a weird dynamic.
That's something I don't like either.
Or when they come, like I'm so busy, it's kind of like I'm ignoring you, but also I'm just kind of like politicking, glad handing with people. So it just like leads to all these projections on my actions and inactions.
That is a problem. Is like if a date wants to come to a show, I'm like, I'm gonna not hang out with you.
Yeah,
we can hang out after.
Yeah. And then a lot of times, like I got work tomorrow, so it's just like okay, cool. Then so it just leads to like my time. Like I'm free during the day, then I got shows at night. When you process that as you're going out, everyone's having fun because it's a fun release for you and other people who come. But like I'm literally like working, and then even sometimes even after the show, you're technically still working because you want to hang out and bullshit with people and go do some other shit, go eat, like
for sure. But that's part of building relationships with other comics. That leads to like.
And I see the disconnect between how I would do that for that, but I won't clock in for a relationship. Does that make sense? I'll spend a lot
of people are like that.
Yeah, I've been realizing I spend a lot of energy having nothing with a bunch of people instead of like, oh, let me just invest with one. Because of the intrinsic faults in myself, like I feel like I lack a lot, like my emotional equity. I operate very cheaply because I've never spent them before. So I don't know if what I have is all there is. So like I have like a lot of care for like my family and like my mom, dad, sister, and her kids.
But you don't extend that care to other people.
I do. Like I care about like my friends, but it's just like, it gets overwhelming. Like I run into a lot of like, especially when I'll meet like a new person, they're like, oh, hey, you're real cool. I'd like to hang out with you some more. I'm like, oh, cool. You want to go on a date and go out like to dinner? Like, oh, not a date. I just want to like hang out and get to know you better. I'm not really looking for anything. I'm like, oh, cool. Then like, why do you want to get to know me better? Like, I just want to be your friend. I'm like, okay, I get it. Cause like you said, you want to be friends to get to a certain point of thing. But it's like, if that's the case, I already have a bunch of friends.
Right.
And if I'm taking sex out of the equation, when you take sex out of the equation, I've realized a lot of women have pussy-based personalities where it's like that paired with their reflective. So like where I asked a girl, I was like, what do you do when you're not working? She said, I just watch a lot of Netflix. I know what you've been watching. I don't know. So like I hadn't established my thing so she couldn't just say her things. Like that's a weird personality trait.
That's really frustrating.
Yeah, but I don't know.
I remember sorry. I had this boy, so like part of the reason I didn't date high school is like I'm like I grew up in a house where like you were always busy. If you said you were bored, my dad would give you a chore. And we grew up in the country, so it's like go weed the garden or like chop firewood or whatever. Like it's just weird shit.
Like Little House on the Prairie shit?
Yeah, like Little House on the Prairie, like middle of nowhere. Okay. I don't wear shoes in the summer. Fuck that. Like we pick our own berries kind of stuff. And so I remember I was like really good at school and stuff. And I had this boy that got my number and he wanted to call me. Yeah. And he called me and he was like, I'm bored. And I was like,
what's that like?
I got shit to do, so you better find something else. And I just like hung up on him. I was like, I'm not gonna talk to you. Like, I'm not here to entertain you. I'm not your clown. I'm not like, I have so million things to do. Like, why are you doing this to me?
I remember actually, I had a little girlfriend in middle school, and I think we kissed like one time. But like it was just a bunch of like talking to her on the phone like while she was practicing her violin. So like not even, and I'm like, I don't know, but like she's my girlfriend. You're supposed to talk to your girlfriend. So it's just like one of those things where like you're just kind of like pantomiming what it's supposed to be.
Right.
But like, you know, the other reason I was virgin till 26 is like I was waiting to love and care about someone when I had sex with them. And then at 26, I was like, well, I can probably change because all the people I was attracted to and cared for were not attracted to me. Aww. And even though like I talk in my act about how like I've realized that like most relationships happen because one person persists over the other's reluctance. Right. But that's not always for the better. But sometimes it is. Like it's just so interesting. But that's how a lot of just men and women, women and women, men and men happen. And it is I think that I've been thinking that's why dudes are so persistent and creepy.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
you're all like, well, I say like it's just like a Castle Caesar. You just wait outside like, well, she's got to eat at some point. And so you stick around, and like it's a real like I've had people in the crowd be like, yeah, I waited her out like 8 years, which sounds like intense, but it's like, well, maybe you were just friends for 8 years, and then like you just took a shot like it.
That person's kind of on your radar, and you see him, and you might hang out once, and then you don't see him for a couple months, and they're dating Stacy, and like whatever. Yeah.
And then like, but it's interesting because I'll ask them, I'm like, but were you immediately attracted to each other? And they're both like, yeah.
Oh, so that's interesting.
Because I feel like we wouldn't even. You won't hang out with an ugly person. And I don't mean physically, I mean like spiritually ugly.
For sure.
And so you have to have a certain level of attraction to just them as a human being, as a person, to just want to be around them.
Yeah, and you have to feel joy when they're near you.
Yes. And then, hopefully, ideally, love can foster throughout that. But like, I don't know if maybe I have bad soil or whatever, but like it just doesn't grow that. I was talking to a friend of mine, and she's a musician by the name of No Name, and you listen to her music, and it's just like so loving and longing, but we're talking, and like she's kind of like I've only had one relationship, like and so I'm like, oh shit, you experienced this after. Like, I'm like, oh, you're just learning love too. She's like, no, I knew love. I knew love for my friends. I knew love for my family. I knew care for art. I knew care for nature. Like, she's like describing it. I'm like, oh yeah, those are like my brain has just separated those all into just completely different things instead of being like, oh yeah, it's all the same type of energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just care and time.
It's just care and time, which I'm miserly with my time and as a result, miserly with my care.
Do you feel like how are you kind of changing now that you've seen? Because like it seems like this has been a transformative experience.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things like no one really told me like, hey, you're hurting my feelings the way like like the some of the women who like gave me head for like really long periods of time were like, yeah, you just made me feel like you didn't care about me. I'm like, well, then why did you keep, like, I just thought it was what it was. Like, they were never just, and they're like, well, I didn't think you would hear me. But it's just like, but how am I supposed to know?
Something.
Yeah, it's like, how am I supposed to know? So it's like, and that's what again, communication. I feel like people tend to talk around each other. You'll tell friends and, but not directly. So it's like, now it's just things have.
I'm 29 now, and I've been so I was like in a serious relationship for like 5 years with someone, and now out here, like I'll hang out with people for whatever, and then I'm like, look, you're being shitty to me in this way, and I don't like it, and you're treating me like a prostitute, and I'm not cool with it, and
I wish people would have told me that, and I'd be like, oh, okay, because I had to just kind of like, I remember I did have people like check me in the past, and like, they were like, oh, you're just.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
They're just like, you're using women and it's not whatever. But I'm like, okay. So I got off dating apps because I was like, oh, it's just kind of like these lead to these empty hookups. So now I'll just kind of try to talk to people I know. And I don't know. It just, when you have to learn from your own mistakes, you don't notice them because you're just like, oh, that's just like society is just kind of like it is what it is. Like, I remember when I was home for Christmas, I watched Superbad and 40-Year-Old Virgin with my nephews and niece who were like teenagers. Yeah. And we're laughing, but I'm watching, I'm like, Jesus Christ, like huge chunks of the logic of these movies is like, just get drunk and have sex with drunk women. For grown men and for teenagers. Yeah. And I was hanging out with a friend of mine and she was like, oh, I love Superbad. I was like, what would Superbad look like for women? And she was like, wow, I don't think it would be the same.
It's not. I feel like our goals are different.
What are women goals?
I feel like our goals are to feel cared for. Okay. And so like when I date someone, like I want to know that that I trust them. Mm-hmm. Like I feel safe around them. They're not going to like physically or emotionally harm me. Mm-hmm. And that there's someone that thinks about me and considers me to be a person in their life that's important. So like, if I can call a dude when I get a flat tire and I'm like, I don't remember where the car jack goes. Can you walk me through it? Like that kind of person.
Yeah.
Like that's a person that I'm like, when that happens, I'm like, okay, I could potentially date this. Like I can trust this person, you know.
When he can do a thing.
Well, not do a thing, but like just be present for me. Because it's like, I'm still going to change my own tire. You probably live 3 hours away, but it's LA. It's just whatever.
Yeah.
But just like talk me through it. I don't remember what's a good option. Like I just want to know that I have someone that is like capable in the world and capable as a person, and they're self-sufficient. And like when I need something, like I got really, really sick 2 weeks ago. And I had a friend, and I feel really bad about this because this is probably a friend zone moment, right? We've been friends for like 10 years. We went to school together.
Yeah.
We're buddies.
Yeah.
And like, if something like this happened, but I was like sick, I was like, I can't stand up.
Yeah.
Like I can't leave my house. I have 103-degree fever. I can't walk my dog. Can you bring me Pedialyte?
Yeah.
And he like came to my house and he did my dishes and he walked my dog and he let me sleep.
Yeah.
And like, that is like love and care.
Yeah.
In a way that is like I still feel guilty about it, if that makes sense.
And I will do things like that and have done things like that for people, but it's as unbecoming as a lot of men's behavior and trying to get pussy can be. A lot of women's behavior and trying to get that friendship can be just as careless.
I agree.
In consideration of the dude, because like I've been reading this book by Bell Hooks. It's called The Will to Change Men, Love, and Masculinity, right?
Okay.
And it's talking about just how, like, as a culture, like, just boys aren't shown care and men aren't shown care unless they can do things. And then most men and women spend most of their life seeking out, like, a love from a man, whether it's like a father figure or a partner. But motherly, matronly, and female love is abundant, but it's kind of not as cherished.
Not valued.
Not as valued.
Unless... I had this theory. This weird thing happened to me all the time at Home Depot. I used to work at Home Depot, and men would tell me secrets. Yeah. Like men would tell me their deepest pain about their wife dying or their son dying or this date that they went on. Yeah. And there's something about like wanting to be healed from women where men feel like they can be emotional with women in a way that they can't with their male friends.
Well, because it's interesting because the book talks about this extreme like violence and things, but I'm like, I just remember it in such smaller non-extreme doses. Like I remember like, I'm sure you do, like in school, you have little crushes, you write a little note, you give it to somebody, right? And it's like, hey, basically like, oh, I like you. Do you like me? Yes or no? And then, oh, thank you. But they don't really respond to it. But then suddenly everyone knows. And you know what I'm saying? Like anytime I remember a boy telling a girl that everyone knew immediately, like, ooh, such and such knows.
You're putting yourself out for the derision of the world.
And then it's like, oh, that's how that works. I say a feeling and then everyone makes fun of it. Okay, well, we just won't do that. Is like a kind of a defense, and that's how just kind of like boys are socialized. Or when you're like, you know, you kind of like you're told to be tough. Like if you feel bad or you're crying, tough, just get up, walk it off, whatever. Yeah. And you're almost I don't know whether it's homophobic or patriarchal to be like to not want to show a boy too much care because then they might be soft. Yeah. That is a weird, it's a hardened old mentality, but it's prevalent. And it's, you know,
it's exhausting.
It's exhausting. And I've been toying with the concept of like, we all have our parents within us, but we kind of get them arm's length away and separate as much as we can from them, but we're still touching them with our hands. So there's still a little transference.
Oh, I hear their voices in my head. Like when I do, there's certain things I do and I'm like, God damn. Like you hear mom or dad or whoever and you know, it's like, fuck.
Yeah. But like, you know, so like my grandfather was an alcoholic, abusive womanizer, and my dad spaced out from that. And then he was an alcoholic and abusive, but he was a womanizer and careless, but he was, I don't know, he had his own dynamic. So I spaced out from that, and I womanize, but not within a relationship. But I've never been in a relationship,
Right.
so I guess it's technically the same. Like I don't know, like womanizer doesn't quite fit. Like fuckboy fits, but like not correctly.
It's an ill-fitting coat.
It's an ill-fitting coat because like there I do have my behavior is preemptive to like further to keep you from further.
You have an awareness and you're trying to do it to protect someone
Yes,
as
but
opposed to just yourself.
Yeah, but I'm not, like you said, I'm being egotistical and just making that decision for myself instead of having the conversation, because that conversation's scary. Like I feel like
scary.
But I feel like a lot of times if a woman in a date and it's like, hey, I like hanging out with you, I'm attracted to you, I'm super interested in hooking up, but like I would probably want to have a relationship. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And if the dude was like, hey, I enjoy hanging out with you, I'm attracted to you too, but like I'm in and out of town, or like I don't really have the availability that I think you would need for that. But that's honest. Then you can both make your own decision. But I feel like then we'd all have less sex. And which depending on what you prioritize loving. I'm trying to get. So you asked how I'm trying to correct my behavior.
Yeah.
It's hard to completely switch and be like, I'm waiting for love and care. So that's what I called my show Unbecoming, because I was talking to a friend of mine and she went through a big period of grief. And she became a different person within that and just felt kind of stuck. And people would always be like, oh, well, just do this and you'll change and you'll be better and blah, blah, blah. And that's a hard concept to just, because she's like, that seems so far. And so she says she focuses on unbecoming what she was, which all of that is just going against your instincts and against the grain of what led you to be that. And so, I normally, if I meet a girl and terrible or cool, oh, let me get your number. Oh, we should hang out.
Yeah.
And trying to manufacture or shoot my shot, see what happens.
Yeah.
And that's bad, but I score like Iverson, just like you just put up shots. Right.
Yeah.
And that's not a good way, but women shoot shots in a completely different way.
Very calculated. And
it's
subtle.
So it's more passive. So we have to be the aggressive ones to even pick that up.
I had a conversation with a male comic the other day because he shot his shot. And I was like, bruh, like it was in a way I was like, I'm so tired of this. Like, stop.
Yeah.
And he was like, I was like, look, like I was talking, I was like, I know that you're doing this because it's worked before.
Yeah.
Like I know that you're not.
And that's why dudes do it.
Doing it.
No one corrects it.
Yeah. And I was like, but this is kind of disrespectful and it sucks because I'm a comic and I'm trying to like be a comic.
Yes.
And like we had to have this whole conversation about it. But it's like, that's something that happens kind of a lot.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I correct every dude instead of, like, there's some dudes like, I'm just not going to respond to that.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the emotional energy and time to fucking correct you like, this happens every day. Like, I don't have time. I have a job. Like, I can't.
Yeah, and that is kind of the social patriarchal structure of things. Like I was talking.
It is. And it's unfair and it's shitty because it's like, you would never have sex if you never shot your shot, and sometimes it works.
Yes,
and that's why you do it.
And like one of my buddies was like, if a dude is like, man, you know what, I'd like to have sex tonight, and they get top of their game, clean outfit, money in their pocket, they go to the club, they crush the club, they vibe out with the chick. He's like, they got a 25-30% chance of success. He's like, a woman off a plane in dirty clothes, rumpled up hair, sitting at the airport bar has a 95 to 100% chance of having sex if she wants to. And the dudes hear that and they're like, oh, that would be great to have that access. But I'm like, yo, that means a woman has to have a 100% block rate on 95 to 100% of dude shots. Yeah. It's exhausting.
It's so much. I'm so tired.
So like you just said, I don't have the energy for that. So you just put up with things that you would normally be like, hey, don't talk to me. And that's where I wish, like, because sometimes like I had someone tweeted out, having self-respect will really put a damper on your sex life.
Yeah.
And that's a friend of mine, Danielle Putterball. And I feel like there's this whole reckoning of just like we're all leaving our hoe phase because we're all hoes till we ain't. You know what I'm saying? Like just
at a certain point too, doesn't sex get Like it's just like boring.
It's and sex without care can feel like a lot like just like you're masturbating, but just with another person's
it's horrible.
body. And it's not
I can't do it.
Yeah, and it's I've gotten good at fucking, but like fucking and sex and making love are all different things.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't. Well, I don't know. And I don't know. So it's just.
Have you ever been like in love with someone? Do you think?
Not that I've had sex with.
Interesting.
I have the love that I've wanted that, and then they're just like my great friends. Like you go hang out with them, and it's just like slipping on your favorite pair of shoes. Like, oh, okay, this is cool, and they're the blueprints for what I look for in women that I feel that for. But to date, none of it's come back from those sources, and so like, I've erred in from 26 to I'm 33 now. I just felt the loneliness, you know what I'm saying? Because I was eating fast food. I wasn't on a good diet,
Yeah.
And so it just led to, I didn't realize the women who were willing to invest that care or time with me, I just didn't value it. Does that make sense?
Did you have women in your life that seemed to want to invest that way into you, and you weren't?
I mean, like, yeah, like in Cleveland, I went on dates a lot. I'd hang out with women, and I did have people who seemed to express like, oh, we should hang out more often. And it's just kind of with my schedule, I was just the times we could hang out was late night, which had certain connotations, which either was fine or wasn't fine for however long it was fine or not fine for.
Yeah. It can be hard.
Yeah. And then like, at the time I was just kind of like work and then like, okay, let's see if we can have some sort of fun around that. And so like, to where like, if I had a little bit of money to pay for a meal, I probably would take my nephews and niece to eat before I take like a date.
Because you love them.
Because I love them. Yeah. And then like I had someone recently ask if I would go be a passenger in the car so they could save money or ride the carpool lane, right?
What?
To get to a gig.
That's so funny.
Right. And I was like, all right, cool. And then I looked and saw it was like 2.5, 3 hours away. And I was like, hey, I don't think I could do that. I was like, just like, no offense. Like I love that's like 6 hours. Like I love my family and I don't even spend 6 hours with my family at a time.
Yeah.
But when it happens to be someone you've had sex with, that can be mean.
But Ramon, what?
I know.
That's gonna hurt someone's feelings.
I know, but it's just try to be honest, and that's me prioritizing me over them. But it's just like I would sit at the crib, take a nap, and smoke. Like I'm sorry, I'm selfish. Like I'm trying to be less
in the car.
Yeah, I'm trying to be less selfish. I don't know. It's hard. I know what I have been, and I'm just trying to actively like, okay, like, and if I was trying to have just sex, it's like, okay, I'll go do that because then there will be sex at the end of that tunnel experience, and I'm trying to not
horrible rainbow.
Yes, emphasis on the horror part. Like I'm trying to fight my impulses to just do those sorts of things. So I'm trying to just slow down and like talk to people I'm actually interested in and be fine with being friends with people and like, stop trying to manufacture things, but also establishing like my interest and intent and then going from there.
Well, and also establishing standards. That's cool.
That's the other
good.
thing. Yeah. Yeah.
That's healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're almost out of time. So
Did we talk about everything you want?
I don't know.
Sorry.
Let me
I feel
look
like
at my
I
notes.
just talked a whole bunch.
I love it. This is great. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, I wanted to ask what you were like growing up, but it seems like you're like kind of quiet, shy kid.
I was quite shy, but I was also like was a class clown in high school, but that was like, I did weird shit. Like I sold candy out of a briefcase. I wore like, I got like a mullet and wore Stonewash size 28 jeans, and I was like 300 some pounds. So like
That's cool. That's
I just did like ridiculous, like dumb things. And like I said, I was smart but lazy. Everyone knew me, but I wasn't popular. Like my friends were like a handful of people, but like I knew most because I feel like and that's kind of how I operate, just
as being a watcher.
As being a watcher, and like I have this weird access and restriction to like a lot of different cultural groups, because like to Hispanic people, I don't make sense because I don't speak Spanish. I don't like. There's a lot of things I'm not, so I'm like, oh, I'm denied that. And then to black people, I'm like, oh, you're brown, but like you're kind of a white boy. So I get kind of out of that, but I can get acceptance. And then with white people, they're like, oh, well, you're brown. Like I've had white people think I was black. I've had white people think I was Indian. I had white people, like I'm just so racially ambiguous. So I can kind of like access and watch and comment on a bunch of different.
Yeah, you can be present,
but also I'm working
still
on
not fully with.
So I'm trying to be more with and in moments, and instead of in my head and out of the pocket.
I don't really felt that way growing up too. Like I didn't sit in any place.
Yeah.
And it'd just be like, I can't hang out with the kids that have a lot of money. I'm not like that. Like I don't fucking have a horse. Like I live in the middle of nowhere. Like I'm the weird girl that draws. Like it's weird.
You carved out your niche.
Yeah. It's just being weird.
Yeah.
That's what I love about stand-up comedy is just everyone is a weird ass person.
Yeah. And I feel like to go back earlier, we touched on like comedy taught me how to care. Sometimes I feel like I texted Rebecca Trent, and she runs the Creek and Cave in New York. I was like, thanks for having a space that teaches people how to care. Because like I feel a lot of us are such weirdos that like you kind of don't process things in a normal or rational way at first. But then our journey on stage is just trying to figure that out. But it's I don't know. It's cool to just have that weird feeling of like I don't know. There's a fraternal or familial vibe.
It's like a brotherhood.
Yeah.
For sure. Unless you're a chick and then you get weird DMs. That's cool.
Yeah. Which is like, fun. You know, like, so that's where I'm trying to like, you know, when I slide into the DM, it's just more respectful, conversational than
that's
like,
cool.
Yo, what that mouth do, which I have done in the past, which isn't a great thing. Oof. It's mad disrespectful, but it's
super bad.
It's a shortcut, but sometimes it works.
Well, obviously, you wouldn't keep doing it.
But then you're just like, oh yeah, you should probably start doing that.
It's good call.
Yeah, but it's been that was all pretty shitty older behavior, and yeah, just trying to the goal this year is to experience love and romance.
Aww.
That's on the vision board.
That's an adorable goal. What's your drawing? Is it just like hearts?
Yeah, it was just hearts.
That's cute.
Yeah. But yeah, I made 2 vision boards. I made a vision board with my family back in Cleveland because I made them all make vision boards on New Year's Eve. And then I made one here in LA at the vision board party. And on the one I put travel internationally with my family. And then on the one I made out in LA, I put French Fest Phenom. And then my first fortune cookie, which we ate that night, was you will touch the sands of many lands. And then I'm getting to go to Edinburgh in August. Hey. So I'm like, boom, manifest that shit, son.
Nice,
but then
dude.
I also had a lot of like self-healing and like just owning shitty behavior and like communicating and like, you know, you have to be ready to listen when you have things that need to be told to you. And I feel like all dudes just need to get to a position where they're willing to listen, because it is, you know, I've had dudes be like, oh, it's like women wanted to play football and then we let them, and now they're like, well, we don't like these rules, we're going to change the rules. It's like, no, it's like they've always had to play football but never got asked if they wanted to play football. And then they're just out here just getting tackled. Like, what is this? I don't know what's happening. Why is everyone, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think something that I hear from listening to you is like, it sounds like you don't want to be like your dad a lot.
No, I don't. But I didn't.
But you don't have a good example of what else to be.
I like my dad is the extreme. Like my dad will walk into a first date and with a woman and be like, "I'm gonna fuck you tonight," which is like very bold, declarative intent.
That's a lot.
That's very. But it's just like he's just kind of always like jokingly like, "Yo, what's good?" And I'm not that extreme, but I'm the lowest level of that, which is still pretty shitty.
It's not great.
It's not great, but it's not like I have women are just as aggressive sometimes. So it's just,
it can be a lot.
It can be a lot. So it's just it's trying to learn what my red flags are, and then trying to respect other people being red flags, and just letting them just be a person.
Yeah, you can be a person over there. You don't have to be in my soul, and I don't have to take care of you and love you and all that stuff. Yeah. Those are good goals. Yeah. So how I like to kind of end this conversation is I want to ask you, what is something you're afraid of in love?
Ooh, I'm afraid of this is the other reason I've had difficulty even approaching a relationship properly, is because this dumb thing I do, comedy, art, whatever, is so number one.
It's your love, first love.
I love, like, that's been my relationship. Like, as dumb as that sounds, like, that is a true essence. Like, it's enriched my life and the life of others in a way that is crazy.
I say comedy's my boyfriend, and I get dressed up for him every night. Like,
yes.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's hard to be honest and open and communicative off top and be like, hey, you might not never be number one. That's what I'm scared of. I'm scared of having to be that honest, but then also having to have something take the number one spot. You know what I'm saying? Because love is the only thing that could.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So it's like a weird, like, I don't want to give that power and responsibility to just anyone, but like, that's why love and sex are different things.
It's like the one ring.
Yeah. Which is a very extreme, like, that's where I'm also trying to figure out the dynamics of, like, okay, if you feel like a general sense of care and a slight sense of attraction, but there's nothing it's not a long-term thing, is the responsible thing to be like, oh, well, let's just see what happens with it, or to be like, oh, no, this isn't going to be a thing, or to just misuse that.
Yeah.
So obviously it's not misuse that, but it's like, because, I don't know, it's the energy, effort, and focus it takes to actually have a relationship is, every man and woman deserves that, but we don't all have the time or resources for it.
Or the capacity.
We have the capacity. We all have the capacity, but we don't realize it because, like, I forgot where I found it, but it's like, you can't give others what you yourself weren't given. So if the care I got and sense of love I got from my family is, we are around you, we support you, we provide for you, but there's not a lot of conversations, there's not a lot of, emotional depth. It's just, this is care. And your style of care seems more communicative and all this sorts of things.
We talk about our feelings a lot.
Yes. So when it's interesting when a person like me and a person like you would meet in a relationship dynamic, obviously different polarities, but because how we have been socialized, as a woman, you may put the cares and concerns and wants of me or another person above yours. So you kind of like put yourself in the back seat, and you're still in the car, and you're like, hey, what about turning here? But if they don't turn, you're fine. You're still back here.
I've been that, and I'm too old for that now.
Exactly.
I'm too tired.
But in doing that, you won't vocalize the type of care you need.
Right.
And if I'm exhibiting the type of care that I'm like, oh, we around each other, we're just chilling, watching Netflix, like smoking, we go eat, it's the type of care that I'm used to. I don't know that you need more than that. I don't know.
You didn't know there's more to have.
Yes. And that sounds dumb. And that sounds like, well, just have common sense. Like, most women are like, I don't want to have to train you. Like you said earlier,
trained.
But you've all trained.
We've all trained men.
We've all done it. We're all feral.
Shears Ameda has a really good bit about it where she says that, like, if you have a man that takes his shoes off at the door and puts them, like, he's been trained by someone else. Yeah. Like, she's like, and like, I'm that way. I say, like, I flip boyfriends, like you flip houses. Yeah. It's just like, I'm going to leave you better than I found you. Mm-hmm. You're going to have some new appliances, some new things that you can do now. Yeah. Some new abilities, higher value. Yeah. And you're going to go. Yeah. Someone else will finish you. I left the carpet.
Yeah. So. It's interesting. I feel like the inverse of that, in the sense that most women are like, I want someone who's just like funny and smart and like cool to be around. And I'm those things, but like, they're like, oh, it'd be nice to have someone with like care and stability too. And then they usually get into like a pretty serious relationship, like pretty quick after we hook up, or they stay like single and they're like, wah.
The stability thing is hard. Like, I think like as women, we want, like if someone meets our needs to like, they're cool to hang out with and they're funny and they're smart and they're kind, like that's like dope boyfriend material. But we as a culture like to pretend that money doesn't matter in love.
And it does.
And it does so much.
So much.
Like the dude, I was engaged for a while, it was like a whole thing. And that dude, like a lot of our fights had to do with allocating time and money and just like disagreeing about that and disagreeing about what our goals were together and like that kind of stuff. But like there was like a period where like I kind of was taking care of him financially in a lot of ways. And it's really
draining.
Yeah, it's really exhausting. And then you realize like, oh, I can't do these other things that I want to do with my life because I have you and I'm carrying you. And I can't carry you. I'm tired. My arms hurt.
That's what I'm scared of.
It sucks.
But also within that, the line between support and enabling is really thin.
It's really hard. And
it's no, I'd like to hear what your thoughts on that.
So I just had a really good conversation. Carlos Delgado, do you know him?
I think so. I think I've met him.
He's kind of like back and forth in LA, New York. He's great. He was here last week and he talked about there's this whole thing, it's adult children of alcoholics. Like when I was a kid, my dad was an alcoholic. And there's this whole thing where those kids, we are so used to being self-sufficient and just taking care of ourselves that we're like, and like, especially me, like I was the older kid. So it's like, well, I get up, I get myself dressed. I make myself my lunch. I make sure my brother gets dressed. I make sure we have breakfast when I'm like 7. So it's like, you are so able in the world that when you see other people that need help, you're just like,
oh, I got you. I'll make you. That's
okay. I'll just, I can do everything because I'm Superman and I need no one.
Yeah.
And you kind of tend to like take care of people just because that's part of your nature and how you are as a person. And then after a while, you just get burned out.
Yeah.
You're so tired.
Yeah. And that's what the process of someone wanting to get to know you better. They're not looking for anything. I just want to be your friend. The process of going through that and like suppressing any attraction or like respecting any boundaries they said or like trying to establish an attraction within that can be very draining and just as taxing in things. So it's like, I'll conserve that by being, in the past I've been like, oh, you don't want to hook up? All right, well, I'll see you around. Yeah. But then that kind of limit, oh, I just have value. If I don't have sex with you, you don't want to hang out. And it's like, well, not necessarily, but kind of, yeah. But in the sense of like, I don't go on dates with my friends.
Yeah.
People become my friends. It's like, oh, we're around each other. Oh, I've seen you a couple of times at the same place.
It's the same way you became friends in school.
Yes. So it's like you're expecting me to go out of my orbit or day-to-day operation to satiate a friendship.
It's an inconvenience.
I don't need to go do that.
Yeah.
If there's some sex or romance or any sort of hookup possibility, I'll probably be more into it. In the past, I'd be like, yeah, what's that? That's the whole reason I would be there.
Right.
And so, but now I'm just trying to like, I'll go hang out with people I actually want to hang out with. If I'm attracted to you, I'll ask you if you would like to go on a date. If you don't want to go on a date, cool. And you want to hang out as a friend, I'll see you as a friend when here's the places I am to exist as I exist. If you want to be friends, cool. Or if it's easy to hang out, like a girl who I met her, I was attracted to her and we were hanging out just as friends and I was like, hey, and she was like, no, I just like you as a friend, but like we can hang out. I'm like, all right, cool. And she comes through, weed, we go eat, like, it makes it easy.
She's a buddy.
She's a buddy.
Yeah.
Not complicated to be your buddy.
Yeah.
So that's fine. But when I first moved out here, I had a girl who was like, come up to Highland Park and like hang out and go to trivia night with me. And I'm like, most of the time it's like, yeah, all right, I'll come to trivia, but it's like, I'm real broke. So it's like, I look at the Uber and it's like $15, $20 one way. And I'm like, yeah, so like $30, $40 to go back and forth to just go sit at a bar where I don't drink and sit at like a trivia night where I don't fuck with trivia because I have my own personality. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm good. I don't want to go do that. So then it just seems like I don't want to hang out with you. But it's like, well, I'm down, but like, I'm not going to go spend $30, $40 and not know if I'm going to have sex or not know if you just want to be friends. Like, most of my other friends don't require me to go spend $30 to $40 to hang out with them.
Because there's like, so like, that's the weird thing about dating is there's an inequality to it. Is like, it's all like, you come to me, you pick me up, we do what, like, there's a lot of where the man has to be considerate of the woman and kind of like go out of his way. Yeah. Whereas like, if you do just hang out with someone as friends, it should be equal. Like it shouldn't, like that's the thing that bothers me about like the friend zone stuff is like, I say like, if a man is mad about being in the friend zone, it's because he's putting more care into the friendship than the woman is.
Yes.
And because his expectation, like he wants, I say like, they want participation pussy.
Yes. Interesting. And so like, as a woman who requires friendship before you have a relationship or sex dynamic.
Yeah.
What keeps them from crossing that threshold?
I don't let them pay for shit. Okay. I don't let them pay for shit. If they're in my neighborhood, we hang out. If I'm in their neighborhood, we hang out. Like, I don't make their lives inconvenient in a way that's unequal or unfair.
Got you. So I guess that.
But I wouldn't do that in a relationship either.
Yes. So that which all makes sense. But my question is, what is the conversion? What are the conversion requirements to go from that? If they have the interest and attraction and they're the requisite amount of friend, what is keeping you from considering a relationship with them? Is it just going to be a time like 8 years? Like, you know what? We've been hanging out. We should probably go, like. It's
a feeling thing. It's more like when I feel like there's a thing that happens when I realize like I have like love feelings for someone where it's just like, just hearing your name gives me joy. Like I could hang out with you for hours and I don't care what we do.
Yeah, whether we're doing something or nothing, I just enjoy being.
Yeah, like we could, like I'll bring embroidery and you can watch a movie. Like I don't care. Yeah, I just like being with you.
And so that's when
I'm like,
and that's when at a certain point you're like,
there's a certain point where it like turns where I like start to have like sexual feelings, and that's what's weird about the way that I experience attraction is like I don't have sexual feelings for people no matter how attractive they are. Like in my brain, I can process attraction. Like I can process physical beauty. Yeah. But physically, I don't get turned on by someone unless I feel emotionally connected to them. So like I can't get turned on. Like I tried really hard after I broke up in this serious relationship to like hook up with this guy that was like really cute and like really good looking and all these boxes checked, whatever. And I could, like, he came to my house and I was like, yeah, I can't really do this. I don't like it. Like, and I just panicked. It's just too much. I can't handle it. I don't get turned on and I don't like it. So it has to be emotion. So in a lot of ways, like I fall in love with my friends and sometimes that's a problem.
Yeah. Like I
fall in love with friends that like have other relationships. Yeah. And it's like, I'm just going to never tell you and I'll keep this to myself forever till we both die.
Yeah. And it's like, but does that love have to?
It doesn't have to be a relationship.
That's what I was just.
That person is still in my life. And that's the thing that happens for me too, is like, because I love this person, I really love this person. Yeah. So I recognize that my desire to be in a relationship with them isn't really what's best for them. That's what I want. But because I love this person, I'm willing to just be their friend. Yeah. And that's okay. And I'm willing to be the best possible friend I can be to them. And I'm not going to try to undercut their relationship. I'm not going to try to do anything to harm them because that's their love and that's beautiful. Yeah. Like love is always beautiful and worth having. So whether or not I get love in a relationship or whether or not I get love in a friendship or whether or not I get love like with whoever, it's like if there's love happening, that's great. Let's keep doing that. Yeah. Whether or not there's sex involved.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I feel that same way. And I agree wholeheartedly with that. But so I'm trying to I've had a separate operating system for sex. Where you took
it outside the box and you're like, that goes over here now.
Yeah. So where yours exists within of set compartment of that system.
Yeah, it starts here and then it goes.
Where like I have that whole thing, and then also just like sex can be whatever.
We be fucking.
We just like what's which isn't. I mean, there's that's this whole era of careless sex and like just cheap sex, and it's just.
Well, there's also an illusion of choice too. That is a problem where like it's like, well, I'm not gonna really invest in this girl. Like she said one weird thing, and like
we're all Seinfelding it. We're all Seinfelding each other.
Yeah.
Like, yo, this chick eats her peas one at a time. Just nah.
Fuck, that's stupid.
But that's where it's like, so if but that goes.
I could never be with the girl with pink toenails.
Yeah,
what?
That goes to the notion of is it instant and is it constant and instant from the first moment, or does it build and establish over time? Is it going to be, if you experience choppiness, should you turn around and abandon ship, or should you just keep going? You know, like there's all those dynamics to consider.
Such a shitty.
Which is I look at everything very pessimistically and pragmatically. So in the sense of like, oh, you're cool, but like it seems like just the way I sail is going to be problematic. Not even like take out the where the half girlfriend had me saved in her phone as a fuckboy. Take out the me getting head from other chicks actually being a fuckboy.
Yeah.
And just leave in the fact that
just
pretend. Let's just leave in the time we were spending together, the level of communication I was giving her, and the fact that I was gone a lot.
Yeah.
She needs me to be around, be more communicative and more accessible.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not able to be any of those things, it is negligent and irresponsible of me to pretend or mail it in to where you're satiated, but it's just like fine, where I know that's good, you know, like I can't.
You can't make promises. You don't want to make promises you can't keep.
I don't want to sell hope. Don't and in doing that, I'm not selling anything, which is shitty. So I'm trying to just and that's because I'm too aware of what I am not. So I'm trying to just get to where I understand and appreciate why people want to spend time with me, whether they're attracted to me or not. Then what may or may not be attractive about me, and work on that. Like I mean I'm always gonna be a big fat dude, but like I can at least like be cool and like fluffy. You know what I'm saying?
I found something that I found from like talking with couples is that there's this weird thing for couples that have been together for a long time. And like I have friends, in India that like got like kind of like arranged marriages basically.
Yeah.
And where it's like, there's this thing that happens where you just decide that this is my person.
Mm-hmm.
Like ride or die, this is what's up. And one person always decides that.
Mm-hmm. And persists, yeah.
But like, that's what kind of there's this weird thing that is kind of like, it's just a choice you make. Where if you make the choice, like when you say like, oh, well, stuff gets choppy, like, do we run? Do we hide? What do we do? And if both people are run and hiders, this never going to happen.
Yeah.
But if one person is just like,
nah, get over here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's all it takes is just deciding that in your head, like, no, this is worth having.
Yeah. No, for sure. And that's where a lot of a general fuckboy trait is like ghosting. You're like, oh, you get hyper trying to conversant, whatever, and then you hook up, and then you're just kind of like, now you're just trying to keep it. I try to keep it in those terms, but like typically dudes like you hook up and then you just kind of trail off from there, or you stop talking to them or whatever. And then but like, look, where I go is okay. We hooked up, cool. Hey, let's hang out like that again. Oh, well, let's do these other things. I can't go to these other things, but like, you want to hang out? You hang out when I get off shows. You want to hang out? And like, no. Okay, what I'm available for isn't good for you. Cool. I'll just stop texting you for that.
Yeah.
Which I don't think about texting. I'm not thinking. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're not investing care into someone because you don't see a way to fit into their life.
Right. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'll just trail off.
Yeah.
And then that's guilty on me, but I'm also like, whenever you hear that, it's pretty normal. But then I'm also like, you have my number too. I didn't hear from you.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, so it's just like kind of like a dual.
Though.
It's different, but it's the same.
Ghosting is like she's texting you and you just don't respond, and then she texts you and you just
I'll respond, but like there's response, there's engagement, there's deflection, and then there's like avoidance.
Yeah,
and women are very guilty of being avoiders, where they're kind of indulge it or engage it, but like not go past it. Like you're not going to fix them. That has to do with
politeness.
That's the politeness, but it's also like
and not want to make people mad. We don't want to hurt anyone's feelings.
Just hurt like that. See, that's where I don't care if my decision is going to hurt your feelings or not.
Yeah.
Where I wish that more for women, because most dudes need to learn how to have feelings in an acceptable level, because most of us haven't been shown that properly.
You guys get feelings in weird places about weird things.
Yes, where like I was hanging out with some female friends recently, and they were talking about how jealousy is like one of the most unattractive things. Nothing's more unattractive than a jealous dude, right? And so they're talking about that and how terrible that is. And I'm like, man, I'm so the opposite of that, because I'm used to being on a roster that I don't have jealousy or territorialness. But within that, like you want a certain amount of, you want a dude to take pride in you and enjoy your pride, so like,
you want to be the jewel in his crown.
And that's the bridge I'm trying to get over to that, is to be, because I mean, the thing I hate about, it's difficult to navigate relationships with comedians, especially like back in Cleveland, because I was running shows, so there was a whole different power structure. So like,
the power structure always sucks for us.
Yeah, and I hooked up with a couple comics in Cleveland, like just very casually, like it was just like and started getting rumors that I was trading blowjobs for stage time. And I'm like, I wasn't doing that, but I was getting head from some chicks who were comics, but there was no show, like, so it's just like the behavior was there, but the rumors didn't match it.
Right.
So even, then when I would go to other cities, I'm like, oh, I don't have that context. I can slide in the DMs or like shoot your shot. But then it's, it took me a while to realize, like, oh, I need to give you the same peer respect that I would give any, like we should be able to eat together. We should be able to smoke or just have a conversation or do whatever without there being that sexual connotation, just as a peer, just as another comic, which is great.
I want to veer off real quick and like talk about the comic DMs thing.
Yes.
This is a problem.
I saw your post.
It's been a problem.
Yeah.
It's been really bad. And like, I have comics. This is a thing that's happened to me. There's this dude who runs a show, and it's a great show, and I would love to do it. But we had like one conversation at a mic, and he seemed cool. And then he started messaging me at like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And he would message me like weird shit, like I want to come over, and I'm like, I don't even know you. Like, what is this? And then the next day, be like, oh, sorry, I was so drunk, and like that kind of kept happening.
Yeah.
But then when I would see him out at mics, he wouldn't even acknowledge me. He wouldn't even say hello to me.
Yeah.
And there's nothing more disrespectful as a female comic, and it is shitty too, because like a lot of times the dudes that are sliding my DMs in this disrespectful way, it's like those are people I respect as comics, and I like want their respect, but I'm not getting that.
Yeah.
I'm getting this other thing, which is basically like the only reason I'm talking to you is to fuck you.
Yeah.
And there's no more horrible way to erase my talent as a comic and the things that I do and the things that I work for than to approach me in that way.
Yes.
And it sucks so bad. It sucks so hard. And it just like, it breaks my heart a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I've worked really hard this year to invest, that was like on my vision board, is to invest in my female friendships more.
Nice.
And to, instead of like investing in male friendships that I think are like my friends, and then it turns into like, well, I only invited you to this show because I want to show you how, like I want to fuck you or whatever. Like, I just don't want to invest my time into that, because as soon as I say like, oh, I'm not interested in you in this way, you disappear, and I don't have that friend that I thought I had. I don't have that support structure.
Because we don't know how to handle the feeling properly.
You don't.
Yeah.
Because you can just like, and I've had like, that's kind of why I mentioned like falling in love with friends that turn me down, is like, those people are still my friends.
Yeah.
I still love them. I'll still talk to them, but like, I don't disappear from their life just because.
Yeah. You established a value outside of that, like to where to speak to the thing I hate about the dynamic between comedians and courting each other or whatever is because it's your relationship or potential relationship becomes everyone's business.
Yeah, it's a
to
lot.
where so that it doesn't justify the distance in person, but it makes sense. Yeah. Because even when I was hooking up with those female comics and we would be at shows, I would just treat them the same way I'm treating everybody.
Because you're at work.
Because I'm at work, but there's a presumed
disrespect
to that, but I'm just trying. I don't want to treat it like you were just hooking up with me in my car.
Yeah.
Or, have in the past or whatever, what have you. I don't want to get, people are very aware of dynamics. You want to give you the public respect of a peer.
Yeah.
So you keep things private. But like I said, like you pass a note and it becomes everybody's business. That dynamic plays out still to this day. So where I always appreciate because speaking as a dude who's been in those situations, it is hard where you meet a girl and you're like, oh, you're cute. Oh, you're funny. Or you're cool. I know you more as an attractive, cute woman than a comedian. I haven't seen you do comedy before. Like we've just been vibing as people.
Right.
So that's where like in the past, I'm like, well,
what if you do that and they suck?
Yes. So that is the thing where it's just like, that's where establishing, like I always appreciate when girls are like, hey, I'm good. Like I've had female comments I met, I'm like, can I get your number? They're like, no, I'm good. You can message me on. And I'm like, oh, okay. Now you let me know, like, no, we can just be friends.
Yeah.
Cool. I respect and acknowledge that. But it's, the sliding to DMs and the deflecting and then slight engagement or acknowledgement of like, oh, you're kind of cute. Like, it leads to where you put each other in those weird positions to where like, I've had, you hang out with someone on the road or in the city and you go eat and, oh, this is cool. And then there's that weird moment. So, well, you want to come in? And then I'm more in a space now where we can just hang out, chill. But then I'm good if you leave. I'm like, oh, it would have been cool if you stayed. And then if you come back, cool.
Yeah.
But I also I'm not trying, I want to give you that peer respect. But then in that logic, I've realized that means I don't treat women as peers day to day. So that's where I'm trying to get to that.
There you go.
Right?
You're getting it.
So it's not, but that sounds bad, but there's also a lot of dudes I don't respect as peers either. Just as a peer, as a person.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's not a gender thing. It's just like
people. Yeah. So make sure that the people that you're inviting into your bed are worth respecting as people.
Yeah. But yeah. And then that adds a whole other level of dynamics. But, so I'm just like, I've been celibate since mostly since the beginning of the year. I slipped. I've turned down more sex than I've had. So just trying to, I don't know, just like figure out a better way to do things. And it's still nice to have sex and enjoy it, but I'm just trying to put some care with it.
Yeah, there you go.
All
well,
right.
Maybe like a bath.
So now maybe I'll be a fuck man or just like, or just be a man, I don't know. I'm just trying, like, there's definitely a social acceptance to like, I at the vision board party, I asked everyone what's on their sex playlist. And like, one dude was like Skrillex. One dude was like Electronic Lights Orchestra. One dude, but that dude's in like a loving relationship. So it's like sweeping, majestic, dynamic, where the Skrillex is just like intense. Like that dude's single, like, yo. And then I listen to like Anderson .Paak, like Manho, like I'm out here following my dreams. I'm just going to hurt your feelings. And then I asked the other dude and he was like, whatever the woman wants to listen to.
Ooh.
So that's where we should all be. But most of us don't.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, so that's what I think. That's just doing things we want to do, and if they want to have sex, cool. I'd like to have sex most of the time.
Beautiful.
But I'm trying not to.
What a beautiful place to end. Aspiring fuck man.
Yeah.
Ramon Rivas.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna have you tell everyone where they can find you on social media. This will come out in like April, probably.
Okay, cool.
So
you can find me my website and everything's Blazer Ramon, BLAZERRAMON.com. That's also my Instagram and Twitter handle. If you have any complaints, just issue them to me. Or if you just want to chat, that's cool too.
If you want to slide in his DM.
If you want to slide in my DMs, or if you just want to have a respectful conversation in the DMs, that's also cool. But yeah, it's, trying to be better.
I will say, so I was going to say this at the compliments area, but I forgot because we started talking and stuff. I did see you at, what's the art thing on Thursday?
Arts and Crafts.
Arts and Crafts. It was a really good show. But I will say, like, the material that you're working on, the audience, like the feeling that you had is like everyone was, I would say, spellbound. Like what you're saying was really hitting with people, and they weren't listening that well for any other set.
Oh,
if that
cool.
Makes sense.
Oh, thank you. That makes. So what I'm trying to do with my act and with the set in general right now is I want women to have like a sense of understanding, or like, it's
empathetic.
Yeah, like, okay, like now
very vulnerable.
Yeah, and then I want dudes to be like, damn, we haven't making proper stuff doing it. And I'm getting that, and I'm getting that more and more as I work through it.
It's really beautiful.
But sometimes I still get the people who just hear like the trigger words, or the people who I still get women who get like mad or upset, and then I still get dudes who are like, woo, we do that.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to put that empathy, care, and vulnerability in it to where I eliminate those things I don't want.
But there's always going to be people that misconstrue who you are.
Yeah, just because they're drunk. Like I had a woman in Denver who was real drunk, and like she got up and left, and like just like was talking shit, and she said I like attacked her. I'm like, I was like saying I was sorry you were leaving, and then the audience booed her, and I was like, don't boo her. So it's just, but she was just drunk and mad, so she just was like, nah.
You can't.
So it's just like, so but yeah, it's cool. If I don't know if I'll be out and around. I have my dates on my website, but cool. I'll be gone in August and doing the Fringe Festival.
Go check his shit out. It's great. You guys can follow me at Sundress Comic on Instagram, Andrea Gazzetta on Facebook, and at Andrea Loves Everybody also on Instagram.
Nice.
And if you have any comments, questions, suggestions, anything, send them to AndreaLovesEverybody@gmail.com.
Nice. Can I tell you something I love about you before we go?
Oh, sure.
I love how earnest you are about just love and care and like, you know what I'm saying? Like most people don't have I don't know if there's a shame to it or privateness to it, but they're not as warm with it. And so I'm appreciative of that.
Oh, thank you so much, Ramon. That's so sweet. Thanks for coming.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Okay, bye.
Bye.